Hey everyone, What If Fan here, bringing you another exciting part of What If becoming a mangaka in One Piece world. You can find the fanfic title and the original author's name on my Patreon page. Make sure to check it out and show them some love. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. Alright, let's jump into it. Chapter 891, Rayleigh. I'm gonna become the Pirate King. Chapter's events. Hey, what's going on? Seeing Luffy suddenly stop running, both Zoro and Sanji turned around to understand why. But they quickly figured it out the moment Luffy suddenly shouted a name. Rayleigh. TH the Dark King? Shock waves spread among the pirates who had gathered in the area. Ha! I thought I'd swing by and see how things were going. But it doesn't look like you need my help anymore. Rayleigh stood calmly on a hilltop overlooking the area, gazing at Luffy from afar. You've grown stronger once again. Your progress is unmistakable. Well then, you better get moving. Your crew is waiting for you. Hearing those words, Luffy responded. Yeah. Thanks a lot, Rayleigh, for everything you've done for me these past 2 years. As he spoke, Luffy temporarily placed his massive food bundle on the ground. Ha! No need to be so formal. Just go. Before Rayleigh could finish his sentence, Luffy raised his arms high and smiled widely as he shouted. Rayleigh, I'm gonna do it! I'm gonna become the Pirate King! Hearing those words, the pirates and marines were left completely speechless. Zoro and Sanji both smiled, and tears welled up behind Rayleigh's glasses as he smiled gently. In Batarilla, the same scene that played out in the manga was now happening in real life as well. The only difference was that Rayleigh here was still a young man, not an old one. It seems Rayleigh has found himself an incredible student. Waha! The student promised you he'd reach the ultimate goal of his training the moment the lesson ended. I'd say your counterpart must be incredibly proud to have a student like that. Roger laughed heartily as he patted Rayleigh on the shoulder over and over. That's true. He will become the Pirate King for sure. That's a reality that cannot be changed. All we can do now is wait and see it unfold. But the reason for my tears, my friend, is something else. I believe he saw the shadow of your counterpart in Luffy. That's why it moved him to tears. Rayleigh adjusted his glasses after wiping his tears. That moment truly struck him deeply. He could feel the genuine emotions of his counterpart flowing through him. Manga had always had this strange ability to connect counterparts through its emotional moments. It happens when a reader experiences a scene so powerful that their counterpart in the manga goes through something nearly identical, just like Rayleigh and Luffy's scene. This strange phenomenon makes the reader feel as though they're truly living the exact moment their counterpart is experiencing in the manga or anime. As the frequency of this phenomenon increased among those who had counterparts in the manga, it was eventually given a name. The term was first spread among the Marines. Apparently, the one who coined the name was none other than the current Fleet Admiral Sengoku, known as Odachi, in the Global Forum. He called it the thread of two realities. It really does seem that the thread of two realities is real. That feeling I got in Chapter 1, when my counterpart ignited the Great Pirate Era at the moment of his execution, it wasn't just some fleeting emotion, said Roger. Hearing Rayleigh say that, Roger nodded, confirming his friend's feelings. That's right. I had the exact same sensation when my counterpart brought the war to a halt at that crucial moment. I almost couldn't believe I had experienced such a surreal event. It felt like I was truly there, standing in the rubble, sword in hand, my powerful crew behind me, while Blackbeard trembled in front of me, ready to retreat. Even Akainu didn't dare to move an inch. Even Shanks spoke up, describing his own experience with the phenomenon, something he had never shared before. He wasn't the only one either. From the look on Buggy's face, it seemed he too had experienced a taste of that same feeling. It makes sense. But maybe the person most deeply affected by this phenomenon was Rouge. She was so deeply connected to her manga counterpart that she nearly merged with her entirely. Roger didn't want to say too much about it. If he thought too deeply, he feared he might never wake from that dream. After all, Rob's words still echoed in his mind. I'm afraid to tell you, but Rouge from the manga has awakened in your wife. Those were Rob's exact words. Thankfully, she was still his wife. Whether the one from the manga or from this reality. Not far from there, in a house nestled in the trees, Rouge played joyfully with two children. Sable and Ace crawled around on all fours, chasing each other, occasionally passing by a manga volume lying open on the floor. The pages showed Luffy's smiling face as he declared to Rayleigh that he would definitely become the Pirate King. Head straight for the top. Rouge smiled as she watched Rayleigh shielding the pursuers, all for Luffy's sake. She too wanted to see Luffy reach the top. That would finally give her son Ace's death some real meaning. Take Straw Hat down! Suddenly, the crowd of Marines began chasing after Luffy and the others. In a hurry, Luffy grabbed his bag again and started running. Well then, Rayleigh! Thank you for everything! Hurry, Luffy! Exclaimed Sanji. Thanks a bunch, Rayleigh! Even Zoro gave his thanks to Rayleigh in that moment. See you later. Hearing that, Rayleigh recalled their moments together on Ruzicana Island. Indeed, Rayleigh was certain they would meet again someday. After them, the Marine soldiers gave chase, but Rayleigh had a different idea. Head straight for the top. The crew is heading for Grove 42. The nearest Marine units were informed. Dark King Rayleigh. Rayleigh stepped into the path of the Marine pursuers and slashed the ground before them with his sword. My apprentice is setting sail. Do as you please. He stood firm, an old man's smile on his face, but the overwhelming aura released from his sword instinctively forced the Marines to retreat. But I would suggest that you do not cross this line. At Marineford, Rayleigh's public threat against the Marines deeply angered Sengoku and the three admirals. But strangely, there was also a kind of unspoken respect for what Rayleigh had just done. The Dark King is still the Dark King, even in old age. This old man never ceases to amaze me. Arara terrifying indeed. What courage! Why isn't Kizara here this time? TSK. It seems the Straw Hats can't be stopped from setting sail again. They were delayed for 2 years, and Luffy was pushed to the brink after the war. But somehow, they've come back stronger than ever. No matter. Let's see how far they'll get in the end. Sengoku looked at Luffy's smiling reflection in the manga and sighed. He said he's going to become the Pirate King, huh? That won't be easy. But even if he succeeds, then what? Does he not understand that allowing pirates to flourish in the world means more innocent lives are lost every day? In that sense, there are many sins you'll have to bear, Straw Hat. Are you ready for that weight, future Pirate King? Let's see then. In Marihoa, under the watchful, bloody eyes of Amu, the manga showed Rayleigh standing against the Marines and daring them to cross the line he carved with his blade. The moment Luffy declared he would become the Pirate King, Ima felt that this might truly become reality. It seems this Nika has some potential. Well then, let's watch it unfold. In the manga, and in the world of the game as well, Straw Hat. Ima hadn't felt this kind of excitement in a very, very long time. The return of the manga seemed explosive already. Even if he has potential, his small, foolish mind is still far too immature to handle the massive responsibility of defeating your esteemed counterpart, Ama-sama. Saturn spoke with grim reverence. Saturn is right. The moment your esteemed counterpart appears in the manga, Lord, it will cause an unmatched global shockwave. At that time, the world will understand just how insignificant Straw Hat truly is, added Saint Nashiro. Pirate King? Right-hand man of the Pirate King? World's greatest swordsman? A Yonko? All of them are nothing compared to our Lord. We, who are bound to the abyss, are supreme. No existence is greater than the Demon King in this world. Well, except for that damn Rob. Chapter 892, The Crew's Reunion After 2 Years. While the stunning Molina was busy delivering customers' orders, she overheard the readers on the sidelines discussing the exciting news about the latest appearance of her beloved daughter, Perona, naturally, the mature counterpart from the manga. Oh, aren't there still some Marine soldiers chasing from the other side? I thought Rayleigh had stopped them all. Ah, is that familiar phantom again? Is that Perona? Of course. Who else could it be but Perona? Just look at her mesmerizing beauty. Wow, what a gorgeous dress. Without a doubt, this is a girl. Ha! Look at Sanji. He recognized her almost immediately. Geez, every time I recall his struggles on that island of Okamas, I feel deeply sorry for him. These marine chasers apparently want to end up as nothing more than a tick. Ha ha! They really deserve it. It seems that her bond with Zoro has grown even closer. They make such a spectacular duo. How I long to see Perona officially join the crew. Ha! Sanji simply can't believe he's facing a real woman. He even goes as far as to sniff her. Goodness, how disgusting is that? Is he nothing more than a dog? Stop insulting Sanji, you wretched scoundrel. And at dollar. Vulgar language. Tell him to stop disparaging himself first, you vile jerk. Dollar and at and. Counter vulgar language. As Molina listened to every word up to the very end, she was rendered speechless. It seems these zealot fans of both Zoro and Sanji are about to be kicked out of the art store. Just as the thought crossed her mind, the two young men suddenly vanished from their places amid a flurry of profane exchanges, and then reappeared outside the art store, having had a significant number of points deducted from them. Their expressions were bitter in that moment, reflecting overwhelming indignation and regret. Though for them, this was neither the first nor the last time such a thing would occur. It appears that the fanatics of the one with the green head and the one with the spiraled eyebrow have begun to make their presence known in this world as well. Returning her attention to her own spot, Molina felt a trace of pity for the two overzealous individuals. Yet, above all, she was filled with joy as she observed just how immensely beloved her beautiful daughter had become among the readers. From an unwanted adversary who once played a minor antagonist as a member of the Moria Pirates to a cherished character who directly lent a helping hand to a key crew member like Zoro. There are even those who dream of seeing her become an official part of the crew. Molina smiled thoughtfully at this transformation. After finishing up the delivery of orders, she returned to where her little daughter sat innocently with all the freshly arrived toddlers, Sanji, Hiyori, and Reiju. The delightful sight of the children playfully nudging and interacting with one another was truly a heartwarming scene for the eyes. It seems that the only fortunate one in this reality is Sanji, unlike his poor counterpart. This time, Molina didn't merely think it to herself, she declared it aloud. Deep down, she felt that Sanji, the owner's son, was indeed truly lucky. In the future, many of the beautiful girls would be sisters to him. Some would even become adopted siblings, and a few, much like his lifelong friend who resembles his own daughter, Perona, had been with him ever since childhood. However, after a while, a belated realization struck her. Taking Sanji's nature into account, can such circumstances really be considered lucky? After all, most of these girls are like his sisters. Chapters Events. Coast of the Grove 42, the Straw Hats Meeting Point. Yo-ho-ho-ho! Usopp-san. Nami-san, Robin-san. Frankie-san. Brook. Gotta say, I'm impressed you gave up your life of stardom. Good on you. Ah, such memories these faces bring back. Yeah. Nami glanced at Brook, who had just drawn his guitar as if he were preparing to sing in honor of these cherished memories. Are you gonna sing something? She asked. Well then, Nami-san. For the first time in 2 years, would you be so kind as to show me your pandash? Before he could finish his modest request, Nami delivered a crushing kick to his head, sending him reeling out of her grasp. I never showed you them in the first place. My heart is all aflutter at this touching reunion. Not that I have a heart to flutter, of course. Yo-ho-ho-ho erg. Despite his pitiful state, Brooke continued laughing. We've got a superstar convulsing on the floor. Usopp added insult to injury. Honestly, don't you people ever grow up? Nami's anger still hadn't fully subsided as she stated. It would appear that we are not yet all assembled. We've sent Chopper out to fetch the others. At that very moment, a familiar voice boomed down from the sky. H. You guys! Luffy! Brooke quickly regained his composure and shouted out. Chopper, perched proudly atop the giant bird, declared, I've brought theme. Zoro! Sanji! You guys look more manly than ever! Frankie joined in with a hearty compliment. Luffy-san! I have missed you so much! Brooke wept as he expressed his profound longing. Heh! We're all together again! Even Usopp could not hold back tears in that emotional moment. Nami raised her arms and shouted with contagious enthusiasm, causing her extraordinary origins to sway magnificently. In that very instant, the ever-eager Sanji immediately snapped a mental photograph of the scene, while the elegant Robin, standing gracefully beside her, witnessed a sudden, bloody eruption from his nose that shot out like a rocket. Sanji. Chopper panicked upon seeing the copious blood streaming from Sanji. After witnessing such a heartfelt reunion, Brooke couldn't help but smile. Perched on his shoulder, Laboon was unmistakably laughing as well, his booming chuckles resonating in the background. Equally, Saul, Rosinante, Homing, and all the others joined in with uproarious laughter. Darishishi, even after 2 years, Brooke remains unchanged. He still can't resist a peek at women's underwear. And Nami, you're as merciless as ever with that pervert! Shouted Rosinante at Nami. Oh, don't call my counterpart a pervert, that's disgraceful. He's just an old skeleton who appreciates beauty. Brooke interjected, defending his equally pathetic counterpart. Man, have you no shame? Even Clover blushed on his behalf. Ahem, what a joyous moment! The crew is finally reuniting after such a long hiatus. I've been waiting for this moment for what feels like an eternity. Vegapunk then steered the conversation in a completely new direction. This scene was truly brimming with emotions that engulfed the readers, and even more so those individuals who found their own experiences reflected in the events, just like Brooke did. And of course, Frankie was not left out. On Fishman Island, far away from O'Hara. Well, I am utterly moved, my emotions are completely out of control. Oh my God, I truly thought we'd never meet again, my friends. Frankie was undoubtedly experiencing what could only be described as the phenomenon of intertwined realities at that very moment. For a brief while, he felt as if his reality had blended seamlessly with that of the manga, with the characters springing vividly to life before his eyes, Nami, Robin, Usopp, Brooke, Sunigo, and even the giant bird that had arrived bearing Chopper, Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji. All of it merged into an almost surreal tableau that bridged the gap between fantasy and reality. He was so completely immersed in this dual reality experience that it seemed as though the thread of his own existence was about to unravel from the fabric of the real world. Pa! Wake up, boy, you're still only reading manga! The echo of the resounding slap that Tom delivered to Frankie reverberated throughout the area. Even though the slap wasn't exceedingly painful. Thanks to the extraordinary safety features of the art store that mitigated most of the impact, it certainly snapped Frankie out of his trance-like state. What's going on? Weren't I aboard the Sunigo? Where are Luffy and the others? Feeling utterly disoriented, Frankie had been so deeply absorbed in the moment that he genuinely believed everything was real. This left Tom, Den, Iceberg, and even Kokoro staring at him in utter astonishment, unable to grasp what had just transpired. Boy, were you daydreaming? Den wondered in surprise. Daydreaming? What are you saying, Uncle Den? I was absolutely on board the Sunny. Besides, Luffy and the others had just arrived, huh? How can that be? It wasn't long before the realization struck him when he saw the very scene he had just lived printed on the manga page before him. I think you must have experienced an intense bout of that thread of two realities phenomenon, Iceberg remarked, adjusting his glasses thoughtfully. This phenomenon wasn't entirely new. Many celebrated figures on online forums had already tweeted detailed accounts of similar uncanny events in their lives. While Iceberg was no stranger to such occurrences, what had just happened to Frankie was on a much deeper level. It felt as if he had been completely torn away from reality itself. It was almost like real life. For a moment I thought my body was made of metal and my soul utterly free. I was completely enveloped by the overwhelming euphoria that Frankie experienced at that moment. I still remember those words escaping my lips, "You guys look more manly than ever." And the sound of Brooks' tears and his heartfelt expression of missing Luffy still rings in my ears. "It's all right. You were just being emotional, boy." Kokoro tenderly embraced the sorrowful Frankie, cradling his head against her breasts with loving care. After all, the Frankie of today was still young Katie Flam, a mere boy of 15 years. Chapter 893, Salting Sanji's Wound. Chapter's Events. Hulia! F. Frankie! Stars sparkled in Luffy's eyes, and even around his head, as he reacted with pure shock and excitement at Frankie's new full cyborg form. Hold that thought, Luffy! I don't even know what you're seeing, but can we save the offer later? We just received a warning. The battleships are almost upon us. Nami grabbed him, trying to snap him out of his daze before he wasted any more precious time. Chopper! Over here, he's losing a ton of blood. Usopp was holding on to Sanji, who was still bleeding heavily, calling desperately to Chopper, who was too busy saying goodbye to the giant bird. Oh. One gorgeous girl. 2 gorgeous girls. 3 gorgeous girls. Sanji, overwhelmed by the sudden ecstasy of beauty, was literally dying of bliss. In that very moment, the ship was struck by a sudden explosion, shaking violently. Oh! They're already within firing range. Should we fire back? This doesn't look good at all. Usopp, completely terrified by the approaching marine fleet, suggested counterattack in a panic. Open fire! Sink that vessel at once! On the marine side, the commanding officer barked the order to destroy the Thousand Sunny immediately. Slave arrow! But then, a soft yet sharply commanding voice rang out, and the marine's cannonballs were intercepted midair by pink arrows, instantly petrified and crashing harmlessly into the sea. Hold your fire. Cease attack. That's the Kuja pirates. Are you interfering with official marine business? A voice from the loudspeaker of the marine ship called out, clearly angry and surprised. Who was so thoughtless as to place a battleship in my path? Exclaimed Hancock. Back on Amazon Lily, the mighty Kuja warriors were squealing like fangirls at the sight unfolding before them. Unbelievable! The Empress herself stepped in once again to save her beloved. Who was so thoughtless as to place a battleship in my path? What power, what presence! Our glorious future Empress is unmatched. Ha ha! Those poor marine fools, the Empress is their enemy. There's nothing they can do to stop her, even if they tried. She's dazzling as always, radiating elegance like no other. Hancock had always been wildly popular among the Kuja warriors, especially those who loved her manga counterpart. And the young Empress herself often visited this place. She was even here now, quietly watching. Hancock had long grown accustomed to the admiration of Amazon Lily's women, and to being a radiant star wherever she went. It seems my counterpart wishes to help Luffy until he escapes the Sabaody archipelago. Hancock smiled, commenting on the scene herself. She loves him, after all. As long as she's still there, she's bound to help him. Shaki added with a knowing smile. Or maybe, she just wants one last glance at Luffy. After all, not even a battleship, or an entire fleet, could stop him from sailing now. Gloriosa teased Hancock with a playful smirk. Robin seems to be the most informed about global affairs among the crew. The Revolutionary Army must have taught her a lot during the past 2 years. Shaki exhaled more smoke from her cigarette as she shared her thoughts about Robin, who instantly recognized the Kuja pirates, while the rest of the crew is still in the dark. That's a serious weakness. The crew should know more about the world they live in, Gloriosa noted critically. The world in the manga is totally different from our current reality, which seems so much more primitive, even though it's supposed to be further in the future. All of this, thanks to my father. Despite her youth, Hancock was well aware of that truth. She knew everything she had now, and the state of the world, was thanks to her father. Had her adoptive father never existed, she and her sisters would still be suffering as slaves under the celestial dragons, awaiting a savior like Fisher Tiger. Thinking of Fisher Tiger, young Hancock and her sisters Sonia and Marigold were eagerly anticipating the Fishman Island arc, the very next one. There, the truth about this mysterious man who freed slaves from Marigold would be revealed, as Hancock had once told Luffy. Her eyes lit up once more as she returned her focus to the manga unfolding before her. The past shown in the manga didn't matter right now. And neither does the manga's future. Her gaze settled lovingly on Luffy's smiling face as she whispered those words. Far away from the Grand Line, in the Sorbet Kingdom, Dragon stood silently, staring into the distance. After a long moment, he let out a deep sigh. At this time, Dragon was harboring a secret. One he hadn't told anyone, not even the Revolutionary Army, not even his father. To protect my son, I need to be even more careful. He turned his eyes back to the sea one last time before heading back inside the art store. Inside the art store, where members of the Revolutionary Army were gathered, the atmosphere was lively. Thankfully, I don't see any admirals nearby. Not even a vice admiral. Are they seriously underestimating Luffy's crew? Crocodile sneered in contempt at the Marine's tactics. Maybe they don't know Luffy's the one who defeated Brindy World? Inazuma responded cautiously. Oh, my dear, Sanji looks absolutely devastated. Sigh. Seeing Sanji's reaction after learning Luffy had been on the Island of Women, Ivankov felt genuinely bad that Sanji didn't think about the paradise he had ended up in. My lucky grandson! Bowahaha! Garp burst out laughing after seeing Sanji's face burning with envy and despair. Oh! It's Hancock! Luffy shouted. Luffy! Now's your chance, wink. Eh? Brook caught Hancock's playful wink through his binoculars and gasped in disbelief. Ah! She just winked at us. That's our chance. Let's get sailing! Luffy commanded, full of energy. Do you know that Shichibukai? Nami asked, utterly shocked. Yeah, I was sent to the Isle of Women. We're all buddies now. Luffy replied casually, as if it were no big deal. The Isle of Women? The legendary dreamland? That place is real? Usopp exclaimed, blown away. He's friends with that empress. Upon hearing this, flames of envy, sorrow, and heartbreak consumed Sanji. It was as if the entire world had betrayed him in this very moment. Tears and snot streamed down his face as his heart shattered. He grabbed Luffy by the collar and screamed, Oh, you'd better have been training hard. Sure have. Luffy responded with confidence. Do you have any idea? Any idea what I've been through? As Sanji reflected on all the suffering he endured, he swallowed his pride and let the pain escape only through his tears. All the Revolutionary Army members, including Kuma and Bonnie, turned their eyes to Ivankov at that moment. The grief, the sorrow, the pain Sanji felt, it wasn't something ordinary. And Ivankov? He was the reason behind it all. Sanji is truly wounded, he's hurting deeply, man. Yeah, I feel bad for the poor guy, nearly lost his manhood thanks to you. Nearly? Pfft. He did lose it, and then got it back. Did you not see that cover page where he was dressed like a woman? Bonnie burst out laughing, unable to hold it in. He's a proud Okama now, too, Ivankov added proudly, giving a thumbs up as if everything went according to plan. TCH, damn you! Why don't you and your kind go extinct already? Crocodile slammed the table and stood up furiously. Calm down, Crocoboy, don't be jealous. I can help you explore your inner desires too, you know. Ivankov teased with a wink. Crocodile's eyes turned blood red with rage. He wanted nothing more than to rip Ivankov's giant head off. He was starting to regret joining this ridiculous army that had done nothing useful for him so far. Sora felt her heart ache as she watched Sanji, consumed by jealousy and self-pity. Compared to his friends, his fate had been cruel and unfair. Especially Luffy. Even Sora couldn't help but think that Luffy had been incredibly lucky. But the misfortune that accompanied that luck was something unbearable even for him. Thinking of all the suffering Luffy endured during those 2 years, it was clear Sanji's pain, while real, paled in comparison. Still, I believe Sanji suffered deeply. He's second only to Luffy in terms of hardship over those 2 years. Seems like Bartholomew Kuma didn't like him very much. Belmere interrupted Sora's thoughts. The problem is, Sanji is too weak when it comes to women. That weakness turned into double the suffering when he ended up surrounded by Okama who saw themselves as allies. Allies? Sanji surely sees them as his worst enemies. Even the most evil pirates couldn't scare him like they do. Pfft, ha ha ha. Belmere laughed heartily at Sanji's misery. In any case, it seems he came out of that hell more manly. She smiled with admiration. But on the flip side, he became even more vulnerable to women. He lost buckets of blood just from one look at Nami and Robin. I pity him, his romantic future looks very grim. Chapter 894, Obstruction from all sides to ensure the journey begins. Chapter's events. Wow. So, those are Luffy's friends? They really do look like a fun bunch. Marguerite cast just one glance at the Sunigo and was instantly convinced. Luffy's crewmates looked like a lively group. A whole bunch of mysterious creatures. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sweet Pea, on the other hand, was busy counting the strange beings aboard Luffy's ship. Back on the Sunigo, Frankie had begun preparing the ship to dive into the deep sea. I'm opening the valve now. It's gonna pump air into our undersea airbag. What the? This jelly-like stuff is expanding, exclaimed Usopp. In less than a minute, the ship was completely sealed off from outside air and wrapped in a thick bubble of powerful adhesive fluid, ready for its underwater voyage. Whoa! We've got a giant bubble roof, exclaimed Luffy. Usopp stood silently, staring out at the horizon. Chopper noticed this and asked, Is something wrong, Usopp? Did you guys take out all the Marines on your way here? He asked, his voice uneasy. No. I could still hear a bunch of them yelling when we left. Chopper replied. Then why don't I see them coming from the island? Usopp found it strange. But before he could dwell on it further, Frankie spoke up. If they're not coming, all the better. We'll just leave before they arrive. Lucky for us if something distracted them, right? East Blue's Syrup Town. The store goddesses here were working diligently to satisfy every customer, but their boss, calm and serene, was lounging as she read manga with a peaceful smile. After all, she was in the late stages of pregnancy, and couldn't exert herself much anymore. Her name was Banshina, and from her appearance, Usopp was about to make an appearance in this world. Did Usopp sense something? What's bothering him? At that moment, Banshina's full attention was locked onto that particular manga scene. After all, the crew was finally about to leave this cursed checkpoint, the Sabaody archipelago, where they'd been stuck for years. They were now heading to their next destination, each member having fought through 2 long, painful years to reach this point. I'm curious too. Why is the Marines taking so long to arrive and stop them? Beside her stood the renowned hunter and real-life counterpart of the infamous pirate, Yasopp, her husband. Looks like Heracles is helping delay the marine forces somewhere, and Usopp may have sensed it. His observation haki has become sharper. Even before it showed in the manga, Beckman had already figured it out, leaving both Banshina and Yasopp speechless. "Stop spoiling events, man," Yasopp muttered, clearly annoyed. "In any case, seems like my son's trainer has that typical master-student bond going on. No, it's not just Heracles. The others seem to be helping too. Pfft. Looks like the Marines are seriously out of luck this time." The Boyne Archipelago. In this bizarre place of carnivorous plants and wild jungles stood a proud art store, a building so sturdy, even the trembling island and its predatory nature couldn't shake its foundations. The island itself was a living, deadly trap, a giant carnivorous plant. Yet it was incapable of digesting something like this art store, which had become a peaceful refuge for one man. "Heracleson!" he exclaimed. "With my counterpart over there, just forget about messing with Usopp's journey and his friends." Heracles himself looked exactly like his manga counterpart, down to every detail, and even wore the same outfit. He had been rooting for Usopp in the manga since Chapter 1, long before any real connection as mentor and student had even surfaced. This art store was packed wall-to-wall with the same giant beetles seen in the manga. Strangely enough, they even seemed to have a human-like awareness. Yet Heracles still lived in total isolation on this island, disconnected from the rest of the world. The only thread tying him to it all was this art store, identical to the one found on Little Garden. "Go, Usopp! I'm sure you'll become a brave warrior of the sea with that determination, and after being trained by my counterpart." Heracles kept flipping through the manga pages, losing all track of time. In this store, he felt completely at home. And Rob didn't mind that at all. "This is the 4th backup unit. We must apologize. A sudden downpour has ruined our gunpowder. Our weapons are useless." The Marine officer in charge of this support unit reported the unexpected obstacle preventing their advancement. "Rain? What do you mean, rain? The skies above Sabaody are completely clear." The person on the other end nearly lost their mind. How could it be raining if the sky was perfectly blue? They didn't realize this particular support unit was being directly targeted by the Weatheria weather scientists. "Don't use the lightning! We don't want to hurt any innocent civilians. All these soap bubbles are such a nuisance." These old weather scientists were the reason the 4th unit was struggling below. "Still, we've been lucky with the wind. It's placed us right above the Sabaody archipelago. Nami-chan, you're such a good girl. Good luck on your journey." "We'll miss you here in Weatheria." Herdas peered through his binoculars, watching over the situation below, all to ensure Nami had a safe departure. 10,000 meters above sea level, Sky Island Burka. Once home to many famous individuals, including Enel, and currently Urich, dozens of well-known wizards from Weatheria had now also gathered here, led by Herdas. Inside the art store, Herdas was now wiping away tears and blowing his nose, moved by the scene in the manga. "Ah, how I wish I could follow my dear Nami on her journey. Just go with her already, you old perv! Like Luffy would ever let some creepy grandpa join the crew. Damn it! Who are you calling a perv? Why should Sanji be the only one blessed with such heavenly grace aboard that ship? Quit dreaming! You think your old self compares to Sanji? Neither of those things. But well, we've shared so many wonderful moments with Nami over the past 2 years in the manga. Surely she feels a sense of belonging with us, doesn't that warm your hearts?" asked Herdas, turning to his fellow weather scientists. "Yes, you're right. Knowing that Nami feels a bond with us, that's something to be proud of. Hey. Enough with the nonsense. This and that are totally different things. Stop attaching yourselves to your manga counterparts. Those moments won't happen again outside of its pages." Urich smacked the Weatheria wizards back to reality, snapping them out of their daydreams. In O'Hara, Mihawk could sense that his side was being represented at that very moment by Perona, who was delaying the 2nd Marine unit. The battleship had been stopped by the Kuja pirates for Luffy's sake. The third unit was being held off by Heracles for Usopp. The fourth was delayed by the Weatheria wizards for Nami. And now, for Zoro, the second unit was also being blocked, this time by Perona. Do you think your counterpart ordered Perona to do that? Isho asked with a smile. Maybe, who knows? Mihawk replied, downing his sake in a single gulp. I don't think so, personally. The whole point of Zoro's training was to learn how to overcome obstacles on his own. That's why he trained on your island. I wish we had a full flashback arc of Zoro's training, from start to finish. Isho was clearly excited about the idea. But sadly for him, no such arc was coming. You said it yourself. Overcoming obstacles is the goal of training. These weak marine units don't even count as obstacles for Zoro and his friends. They're being stopped by the very people who helped them during the last 2 years. That's just a personal gesture. It was never necessary. Hearing this from Mihawk, Isho nodded in full understanding. Chapter 895, Straw Hat, Our Present Moments Are Alike. Chapter's Events. This is Unit 5, reporting from Grove 42. Unit 2, who had been dispatched to this area earlier, all seemed to have succumbed to intense depression. Depression? What are you even talking about? Today, many strange things happened to the Marines, each event more bizarre than the last. I want to be a flea. It's no use. I want to become moss. The Marine soldiers collapsed on all fours, stripped of all sense of purpose and existence in that moment. According to their reports, Straw Hat Luffy appears to have fled the scene atop a gigantic bird. A bird? Are you people playing some kind of joke? Right now, we're faced with an obstacle like nothing we've ever encountered before. In another part of the Sabati archipelago, the Marines were facing a completely different nightmare. What do you mean, you don't want to accept our invitation? Don't be shy. The Okama, Sanji's allies, were wreaking havoc among the Marines, who wore expressions of utter despair. Let's enjoy a lovely cup of tea together. I don't know if we can hold out any longer. Sanji-kyun, this is your big chance. In a comedic scene, the Okama named Tiberi mimicked Hancock's wink at Luffy, but this time, it was directed at Sanji, whose heart shattered even though he hadn't seen the actual moment. Arg! Hey! What's wrong, Sanji? At Sunny Go, Chopper rushed over, concerned for Sanji's sudden cry of pain. Sanji, clutching his aching heart, steadied himself and said, I don't know. It just felt like someone was crushing my heart for a moment. Ha 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 ha. The author really hates Sanji so much. Pfft, ha 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 ha. Oh my god, my stomach is literally splitting from laughter. Huff, huff. Please stop. Da ha 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 ha. These Okama are hilarious. Poor Sanji nearly died from a wink. PFFTTTT, my drink. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. Sanji also has an Okama who loves him. Ha 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 ha. What a lucky guy. Lucky? PFFTTT, ha ha ha. That's not luck. That's a lifetime curse. Oh God. For the first time, I actually feel bad for these Marines being targeted by such anomalies. Ha ha ha. Anyone kissed by them might just end it all. Was Sanji running from these monsters all this time? He must have gained insane stamina from 2 years of constant fleeing. I'll never, ever set foot on that place called Momoro Island. No matter what happens. Man, I pity those poor Marines. And Sanji, too. Ivankov is such a weird presence in this world. Damn. What are these creatures? They're an eyesore. Hey you. Stop with the hate speech. They're allies of the crew, after all. Many locations, one topic. The readers all around the world were having one heated discussion. The laughter was almost universal. Those who got the joke were laughing so hard their stomachs hurt. In O'Hara, Rosinante was laughing his heart out too. Ha! The Okama imitated Hancock, but poor Sanji. His version was an Okama, not a beautiful empress. Pfft. If I were in Sanji's place, I would have wiped out every last one of those lunatics and erased that humiliation from existence. Enel held himself back, trying not to laugh. Despite everything, he is still Sanji's fan. People's preferences and desires mean nothing to me. What matters is the value of their existence. In my view, those Okama did more to develop Sanji than it appears on the surface. We might soon witness a completely new, far stronger Sanji than the one we've known before the time skip. Doflamingo chuckled as he shared his perspective. That's an interesting take, Enel replied. Not far away, Rob was gently patting Robin and Yamato, both of whom were venting to him about the tragic comedy that befell Sanji in the manga. Daddy, when will Sanji find a woman who genuinely loves him for who he is, like Hancock loves Luffy? Purrs Sanji. Speaking of which, Robin seemed very optimistic about Sanji's future in the manga. In her eyes, he was an exceptional, noble man. Sanji doesn't deserve to be hunted by those disgusting Okama. Please change that in the manga, Dad. Even Yamato was against what was happening to Sanji. Calm down, both of you. Everything that's happened so far in the manga was necessary for the story's flow. It can't be changed. You'll understand when it's finally time for Sanji's flashback arc. Just be patient, okay? Rob smiled gently as he said this. Robin and Yamato weren't the first to confront him in defense of Sanji's honor. Many had come before. But what fault did Rob really have in all this? At his core, Rob was merely a publisher of Oda's manga in this world. If he ever tried to rewrite or erase any part he disliked, the gods who sent him here would obliterate him instantly. There were times Rob wanted to scream to the world that he didn't like what Oda was doing to Sanji either. But could he really say that? Unfortunately, he couldn't even tell his sweet children, let alone the entire world. Sigh. Rob sighed as he looked at the tiny infant resting in the nearby crib. It was his child. His son, named Sanji. When he grows up, will he blame me too? I just hope Oda doesn't go overboard with the Sanji jokes in the final saga. I really can't take any more of it. Turning back to Robin and Yamato, Rob said, All right, my beautiful daughters, you've finished reading the manga, haven't you? How about we play a game now? Far away in the New World, a trading ship peacefully exited the calm belt and entered the stormy waters of the New World. Zihahaha! We've finally arrived. Rob's influence and the world government's grip are at their weakest here. We'll definitely thrive in this land, far away from all those monsters. But Teach, this is the territory of Pirate King Roger and the pirate veteran Whitebeard. How can we possibly thrive here? Shiria asked with genuine concern. Recently, Whitebeard had been given the honorary title of Pirate Veteran, as he was the only one worthy of being a rival to the Pirate King in his generation. They followed Teach because they had no choice. The manga had tied their fates together. Everyone in the world now knew of their villainous nature, so they couldn't freely roam alone. Most of them were even broken out of and impelled down thanks to Teach himself. Zihahaha! If you had the choice of facing Rob, the world government, or Roger and Whitebeard, who would you pick? Teach asked, grinning at his sharp-witted deputy. Without hesitation, I'd choose Roger and Whitebeard. No disrespect, but they lack the manpower to give us a real challenge. Besides, they're constantly leaving the New World to check in on their families. Exactly. Zihahaha. Just as I expected from you, Shiryu. And of course, we don't have to face Roger's crew or Whitebeard's. We won't even bother with that bitch Big Mom or the coward Kaido. We'll grow in silence. Out of the spotlight. Let the spotlight of the manga be the flame that fuels our ambition. Zihahaha. Once we're powerful enough, we'll go after all those I just mentioned. And then, we'll come back to slay the two giants. The Blackbeard pirates could feel their captain's overwhelming ambition, and they were all internally fired up. Now let's finish reading this manga first. You're right, Captain. Looks like the Straw Hat crew is preparing to dive toward Fishman Island. We're finally done with the Sabaody Archipelago arc? Zay-ha-ha-ha! Let's see how your journey into the new world begins, Luffy. Somehow, your present in the manga feels a lot like my present right now. Chapter 896, Sailing Towards Fishman Island. Chapter's Events. Are you all paying attention? A coated ship has the ability to reduce the surrounding pressure in several ways. In other words, once the ship is coated, it loses the ability to float on its own. Nami requested the crew's attention to explain some crucial details at that moment. So if we remove the buoyancy bag underneath the ship, which is currently supporting it, the ship will naturally begin to sink beneath the surface. I see, Zoro said, although it was clearly impossible that he truly understood. That's exactly what Luffy assumed, as he immediately replied. I can tell you didn't understand. At that moment, Frankie resurfaced from beneath the water and shouted, I've released the buoyancy bag. Upon hearing that, Nami immediately ordered, All right. We're going under. Everyone, raise the sails. The sails? Both Brook and Chopper were confused. What was the point of sails if the ship was going to sink to the seafloor? Robin noticed their confusion and explained. Apparently, coated ships can use ocean currents as a substitute for wind to move forward. There's more to it than just sinking to the bottom? Usopp exclaimed in disbelief. Ignoring the ongoing conversation, Luffy looked at Nami and asked, So, are we finally setting sail, Nami? That's right, Captain, she replied confidently. Well then, everyone. There are so many things I've wanted to say to you all this time. Zoro, Robin, and the rest of the crew smiled as they listened to their captain speak with genuine sincerity. But for now, I'll leave it at this. Thanks for going along with my selfish wish over these past 2 years. Luffy expressed his gratitude to the entire crew for accepting his request to train for 2 years in the places they were sent. Yeah, as if this is the first time we've been swept away by one of his crazy whims, Sanji said with a smile. That's right. This is exactly how you've always been. Even Usopp had to admit it. Rear Admiral. The pirate ship is submerging. The Marines quickly spotted the Sunigo diving beneath the sea. Damn it. You fools. Do you have any idea how dangerous those criminals are? Rear Admiral. Hancock gazed toward the Rear Admiral with a blank stare, her beauty completely disarming him and his subordinates. Immediately after the ship began its descent, Luffy took a deep breath and shouted, Set SAAAIL. The crew shouted back in unison. YHHHHHHHHHHH. Fishman Island, here we come. Their voices echoed with pure excitement. Marineford. It seems they've done it after all. What's with this unbelievable negligence from the Marines? There's no way to explain it. They managed to escape without any casualties. You can't really say it was without sacrifice. They lost 2 years of progress. Lost 2 years? I'd say they gained 2 years. Sengoku voiced his opinion freely as he looked at those present. Well, at least in this arc, the allies and enemies have been clearly identified, said Sakazuki without emotion. He didn't seem to care about who was on which side. But internally, he was seething with rage, like a volcano ready to erupt. Honestly, I believe the Shichibukai system benefits the Shichibukai more than it helps the Marines. It's obvious Hancock openly obstructed Marine forces to buy time for the Straw Hats to escape without any losses. She used her Shichibukai status to do it. Perhaps the Shichibukai system won't last much longer. It seems their value is starting to fade. That's true. With the emergence of advanced technologies like the pacifistas, I bet the world government is increasingly relying on science divisions and Vegapunk in particular to replace disobedient forces, including the Shichibukai. Tsuru, Sengoku, and Zephyr exchanged looks as each of their theories became more certain. Even so, that won't happen overnight. The government still desperately needs the Shichibukai, said Tsuru. Sengoku nodded. He agreed. He had the same instinct. Still, I think some Shichibukai are truly dangerous. It's better to keep them under control even if they're not entirely useful. Kazan joined the conversation with his view. My hawk, Doflamingo, even Boa Hancock, they're all dangerous. My hawk especially, he's terrifying, Borsellino added. As long as my counterpart is in the Marines, no one can destabilize it. The Straw Hats have escaped the archipelago. That's fine, let them flee, let them move forward wherever they want. It only means one thing, their story is still ongoing. And just like Ace's story ended at the hands of my counterpart, there will come a day when Luffy's story, and his crew's, ends at mine. Until that day, I'll just read this manga patiently, and enjoy as much entertainment as I can. Hearing Sakazuki's arrogant words left everyone present in shock. His thoughts were truly extreme, to still take pride in what his counterpart did to Ace, despite almost dying in the process. Left them speechless. For a moment, Kazan wanted to challenge him to say that publicly on the forum, but he stopped himself. After all, he didn't want to take part in another failed rescue mission. Last time, if not for the 5 elders, Sakazuki would have died at the hands of Roger and Whitebeard. Sorbet Kingdom. Dragon smiled as he watched the final scene, where Luffy shouted, "Set sail!" It seems Luffy has quickly regained his captain's spirit. He's happier than ever. Hearing Dragon's words, silence filled the room. But only one particular old man didn't care for the moment of silence. He suddenly burst out laughing. Bowahaha! That's my grandson after all! He's stronger, tougher, and more charismatic than ever. What do you think of this journey to Fishman Island? Dragon asked his father. My opinion on the journey? I think we'll see all kinds of political and social issues in that place. Luffy and his crew will surely deal with many of them. That's what we've come to expect from him, right? Garp replied. Upon hearing that, Dragon smiled. That's right. My son and his crew have always acted like the Revolutionary Army. They're the best example of what the revolution truly stands for. They're doing the work of a full army with just a handful of crew members. I'm really looking forward to this trip to Fishman Island. Hearing the conversation between Dragon and Garp, the rest of the Revolutionary Army members smiled. They were somewhat in agreement with Dragon's words. So doesn't that mean the ones most excited for the next arc should be the fishmen themselves? Of course. No matter how ordinary, any fishman is surely looking forward to this arc more than any human or other race. Isn't that right, Hack? Dragon looked at the newest member of the Revolutionary Army, who had joined just a month ago, coming from Fishman Island. Hack, a full-blooded fishman in his early 20s, had come searching for the light of revolution. Unlike others who joined bounty hunter guilds for more money, he chose the revolutionary path. Naturally, Dragon welcomed him with open arms. Yes, Dragon-san. As a fishman, I'm truly excited for Luffy and his crew's visit to my homeland. It's going to be amazing. There's so much mystery surrounding that place. I believe this manga is going to uncover it all. Hack replied calmly, seated between Crocodile and Ivankov. Fishman Island. Here, where the eyes of the world had now turned, the people were the happiest on earth after the end of the return to Sabaody arc. The reason? In just a month, the long-awaited arc, the core of the current saga, would begin. It seems the Fishman Island arc is next. Arlong grinned, revealing his sharp shark-like teeth. This version of Arlong was 21 years old. A strong young man with none of the flaws of his counterpart. He had earned great trust from Tiger, who was seriously considering pushing him to join the King's Guard, especially since the current king had no heirs. He needed strong protection, and Arlong was a master of fishman karate at his age. Are you excited? Jinbei asked, seeing him smile. Of course I am. My counterpart might return to the spotlight in this arc, Arlong replied. Or he could be remembered only as a disgraceful remnant of the past. Wouldn't that bother you? Jinbei said. It doesn't bother me anymore. I've long moved past that. Hearing his words, Tiger smiled and nodded internally. I just hope no villain appears who is even more hateful and malicious than my counterpart. I don't want to see that. After all, he could be one of those abandoned kids from the Fishman Street, and seeing that would break my heart. Tiger looked troubled by Arlong's words. He shared the same concern. No matter. We have no control or foreknowledge. We must simply accept whatever comes in the manga. After all, it represents the future we once rejected, but a future we must understand and learn how to avoid repeating. Jinbei, Hachan, and Arlong all nodded after hearing Tiger's words. There are still 2 extra pages in the manga. Isn't the arc over yet? Fan letter? Is that the title of the chapter? No worries, let's dive in. Chapter 897, Fan Letter. Part 1. As the pages turned, readers around the world were stunned to discover that the arc hadn't ended yet. The events of the Summit War resurfaced once again, reviving memories of that grand battle, only this time, portrayed in an even more luxurious and detailed art style. But what truly shocked everyone was that they were witnessing the war through the eyes of the most random and overlooked Marines. It felt unbelievable. At the art store in O'Hara, which was nearly empty, people returned in droves the moment they found out there were still more chapters left. The scenes from the war raced ahead, from the intense fight between Marco and Kizaru to the clash between Mihawk and Vista, and many other iconic battles. This time, however, the events leapt rapidly from one scene to another, almost like snapshots stitched together. Readers were still confused. What was the purpose behind all this? Hadn't the Sunigo already sunk to the bottom of the ocean, heading toward Fishman Island? Then what was going on here? Isn't this the Sabati archipelago? Where everyone was watching the war on those huge screens? Yeah, man! The manga didn't really focus much on them back then. Look at all these extra details now. So many random people showing up here and there. Oh wow, they're even shoving through buildings and crowds just to watch the war. This is amazing! Is this a flashback to the Summit War? But why now? I don't know. Just enjoy it. Anyway, there doesn't seem to be much left in this volume. Readers at the O'Hara Art Store were a bit annoyed that the volume was once again nearing its end. Still, they were grateful that there were more chapters to enjoy. Fan letter? What a strange title for the final chapter. What's going on? Olivia wondered aloud, having no idea what this chapter was about. After all, as Rob's wife, she was usually by his side and had long been used to reading each volume before it was published. Rob always preferred it that way. And yet, she didn't remember reading this chapter at all. Looks like you got tricked by Rob too. Belmere glanced at Olivia, just as confused. She shared the same feeling. She had also never seen this bonus chapter. At that moment, Rob approached from behind and hugged them both, whispering softly in their ears. Don't be confused. You two just never finished the volume because you got distracted. Remember? Their ears turned red instantly as they recalled the other thing that had kept them busy at the time. Chapter's events. Dear Nami-san, you are a one-of-a-kind pirate. In today's world filled with savages who rely solely on brute strength or devil fruit powers, you outshine them all with your intelligence and cleverness. Nami-san, you are my light of hope. I truly wish that you continue your amazing adventures. This was part of a letter written by a little girl with bright orange hair, carefully sealed in an envelope, clearly meant for Nami. Hey! You've got a delivery waiting. A delivery. A middle-aged woman burst through the door shouting, ignoring the girl who had tried to avoid her. Can't you knock? The girl snapped, clearly annoyed. Where are your glasses? Put them on or you'll get hurt while delivering. The girl didn't care for the woman's advice. She grabbed her letter and replied curtly. I'm not going. I'm busy. Raising the envelope, she declared with determination. I'm about to live the adventure of a lifetime. Goodbye. But as she tried to run out, the woman stepped in front of her. Listen. People can't live alone. Those brothers from the vegetable vendor's family? They give money to their parents every time they get a promotion too. I'm made of different stuff than those two big guys. Yeah, totally different. But they work hard and. Before she could finish, the girl took the opportunity and bolted out the door. And I heard they played a big role in the Summit War, she yelled as she ran. I see. So that's what the fan letter means. Belmere muttered as she watched the little girl pour her feelings into the letter with total sincerity. Looks like our Nami just got her first fan. And it's a little girl who looks just like her. What's her name? It hasn't been mentioned yet? The scene of the girl writing the letter and expressing her admiration for Nami deeply touched Belmere. She even plans to deliver it herself. Is this the adventure the child is about to embark on? Are these events happening during the crew's reunion at the archipelago after 2 years? Even Olivia was genuinely impressed by the current turn of events. Who would have thought some members of the crew would start getting fans? Ha! I love this little girl, she's exactly like Nami was at her age, laughed Belmere, enjoying the interaction between the girl and the woman, who seemed to be her mother. Exactly. In this world full of monsters, Nami stands out with her unique fighting style. She's smart, sly, wise, and above all, beautiful. That's my precious Nami. Every word of praise toward Nami made Belmere feel like the compliments were for her as well, and she was absolutely thrilled reading that scene. Rob watched silently, and smiled. At Marineford, Sengoku and the others were shocked by this unexpected shift in the story, from the Straw Hat's successful escape to reliving the Summit War, now seen from the perspective of regular Marines. This is unbelievable. Sengoku stared at a Marine who had just been kicked onto the icy battlefield. As he stood up, he muttered, I want to quit this job. Another Marine nearby replied, sarcastically or seriously, it wasn't clear. Thinking of early retirement. I never imagined Rob would include scenes like this. What is he planning? Sengoku was deeply irritated. He had just relaxed, thinking the volume was over, only to be hit with a surprise extra chapter, one directly tied to the Marines. Let me guess. These two brothers from the scene earlier. Are they the same siblings from the vegetable vendor's family the woman mentioned? Kazan made the connection quickly. Seems like it. Sengoku nodded. Is that soldier a fan of Mihawk? Looks like this scene takes place after the time skip, and these guys are talking about their experiences in the war as participating soldiers. Zephyr noticed a man in a bar drunkenly praising Mihawk. The same man had earlier appeared in a flashback, gazing at Mihawk during the war. Oh, now they're comparing the best swordsman. Vista? Zoro? Obviously Mihawk. But wait, isn't Zoro sitting right next to them? So this scene happened while Zoro was waiting for the crew to arrive? Tsuru pieced it together quickly. Makes sense. Since they believe Zoro is dead, the crew hasn't officially reunited yet. These fools. That's what makes them such basic Marines. A Marine should admire no one but himself. How can a Marine admire a pirate? A fan letter? How shameful! Sakazuki slammed the table, fuming. The thought of Marines expressing admiration for pirates was unacceptable and against everything the institution stood for. Clearly, Rob's trying to plant some dangerous ideas here, Sengoku observed quietly. Back on Fishman Island, with Tom and his students, Frankie was left speechless. A book about me! Who wrote it? The book, retrieved by the part-time bookstore assistant from two mischievous kids, was titled, Come Back, and featured a pre-time-skip picture of Frankie. That's not a book, idiot. That's the monthly shipwright magazine published in Water 7. It's real, and this is a special issue all about you, said Iceberg, correcting Frankie's excited assumption. Wait a second, isn't that Yadara? The guy who runs the Yagura rental shop in Water 7? Oh my god, he's gonna be so happy to be in the manga. Tom recognized the man. Back in the day, he was a young guy who inherited the shop from his parents. And a very likable one at that. Iceberg looked toward Polly in the manga page, who was running from the press and trying to direct them toward his counterpart. Isn't your role as vice president to take care of these things anyway? You should be answering the journalists. Looks like Alice has gotten quite skilled at handling her duties as my secretary. That's impressive. PFFFFFFT. Frankie spat out his drink in shock after seeing a photo of his counterpart completely naked. Damn it! Who gave you the right to publish that in your stupid magazine? Where's my copyright protection? This is defamation! He shouted furiously. What reputation do you have? You've already had your ass shown in the manga multiple times. Iceberg mocked him. Wait. What's Robin doing here? Even she agrees this special edition is trash. I can't believe this. Frankie wiped away his tears, feeling utterly betrayed. Even Robin, someone he trusted, had dismissed the issue so casually. What? She figured out Luffy's coded message from 2 years ago. Isn't that girl a little too smart? Exactly, only the crew was supposed to be able to decipher that. The world's a huge place. With so many eyes on the Straw Hats, it's no surprise someone with brains figured it out. Come on, this is a world with people like Vegapunk. It's not that strange someone cracked a basic coded message like that. In the Drum Kingdom, both Kureha and Hiralik were discussing the events of the fan letter chapter with intrigue. They were both impressed by the little girl who had understood the meaning behind Luffy's 2-year-old message, and saw the opportunity to deliver her letter to Nami. That means this little girl might be the only one who predicted the crew's reunion happening today. If she were a Marine, the crew would have been in serious trouble. Thankfully, she's just a Nami fan. So, when do we get to see Chopper's fan? It's ridiculous that our sweet little son doesn't have any admirers. Hiralik had always been annoyed that Chopper was treated as a pet in the crew and given a symbolic bounty in every bounty update. It was incredibly frustrating. Even if he didn't want to admit it, under these circumstances, it was truly hard for Chopper to gain fans. After all, who'd want to be a fan of a pet? Chapter 898, Fan Letter. Part 2. Chapter's Events. There's usually no one on this street. The girl who was a fan of Nami stopped at a street packed with excited people. But instead of giving up, she smiled to herself. All right, time for Plan B. Unfortunately for her, she was suddenly trampled by 2 Cypher Pole agents who seemed to be on the run after abducting the fake Robin. Excuse, my bones are going to break. You're lacking calcium. Drink more milk before you turn into a pile of bones. Ha ha. Ha! That's a skullcracker joke. A skull-cracking joke. What's wrong with these guys? These were overly excited fans of Brooke, laughing maniacally, until a bunch of negative ghosts passed through them. I'm sorry I'm useless. I'm sorry, my room is filled with things I bought. All this noise is annoying. I wonder if he made it to the ship. The culprit behind this emotional wave was revealed to be Perona. Zoro is alive. He's out there training somewhere. I'd bet my life on it. In a bar, a devoted fan of Zoro was fiercely defending his belief. Next to him were fans of Mihawk and Vista, mocking Zoro instead. The drunken Mihawk fan laughed. Rice slicing. Ha ha. A mocking jab at Zoro's move Onigiri. That's ridiculous. Are you mocking him? Why does he carry a sword in his mouth? More swords don't mean better. They had no idea that Zoro himself was sitting right next to them, fuming. Seaweed. What do you mean? Seaweed head. The Mihawk fan pulled out a poster of Zoro and laughed hysterically. Ah ha 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 ha. But a second later both of them were slammed into the table, huge lumps rising on their heads. Zoro had struck them down personally, and walked away. What's his problem? Groaned the Mihawk fan, drowning in pain. Shimotsuki Town. Bah ha 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 ha. Old man Kozaburo was slapping his thigh in laughter at the scene. Ha! Looks like Zoro regretted sitting at the bar and went off to find a fishing boat after dealing with those 2 Mihawk and Vista fans, said Kushiro, adjusting his glasses while chuckling. He truly admired Zoro. After all, in the manga, Zoro's first formal teacher was none other than Kushiro himself. Yet even with that, he had more love for Zoro as a character. Seeing him lose his temper in a situation like this was perfectly in character. Looks like Zoro still doesn't know how to handle fame. Is that what a fan letter means? Tsuna reflected thoughtfully. To her, this fan letter chapter wasn't only about the little girl and her letter to Nami. Mama! Is Zoro angry? Asked little Kuina, tilting her head with a confused look. She was only 2 years old, but she could sense that something was wrong. Kuina was growing day by day, slowly learning more about the world around her. All thanks to her loving family, especially her grandfather, who was already planning to raise her to love swords from a young age. Bahaha! Those guys were mocking Zoro's silly three-sword style. Sweetheart, did you see that? Sometimes, when you choose to be unique, people will make fun of you. But that doesn't mean Zoro is wrong. He chose to be different. And he fully understands the consequences of that. But does he care? Bahaha! Not one bit! Still, it bothers him when people laugh at him, so he smacks them down. Maybe because they reminded him of Sanji. Suggested Kushiro from the side. What's Sanji got to do with it? Asked Tsuna, curious. Isn't he the one who always calls him Seaweed Head? In another corner of the art store, Erasure and Tara were reading the fan letter chapter from a different perspective. Since the scene involved their son, they felt his anger was completely understandable. Though it still made them sigh in relief. I thought he had lost so much of his emotions. But I guess I was wrong, said Erasure, smiling softly. I could accept him losing an eye, but not his temper or his laughter from before the time skip, added Tara with warmth. Humph! Those punks mocking my grandson deserved that beating. Why didn't he hit them harder? Grumbled Furiko from the side. Clearly, he didn't want to reveal himself publicly. It would have been a waste of time to go all out on random extras. So, he's just okay with it. Well, at least one of the three was a fan of my grandson. Maybe there are more out there. Benevolent King of the Waves? A captain stationed at Marine Base GR-66? He looks strong. I thought he was a vice admiral at first. Back in Marineford, Sengoku was focused on every detail in the chapter that related to the Marines. The appearance of someone called the Benevolent King of the Waves in a marine base in the Sabaody archipelago caught his full attention. Looks like that captain, along with the rear admiral from earlier who was intercepted by the Kuja pirates, are the ones responsible for allowing the Straw Hats to escape safely, deduced Sakazuki, piecing it together from a glance. But he does seem strong, PFFFFFFD. What the hell is this? Zephyr sprayed his drink when he saw the once imposing captain's face twist in shock as he opened a drawer and found a poster of Chopper. Too cute! What the hell kind of marine captain is this? He's cute. No. He's so cute, I get surprised every time I see him. But Chopper-kun is a pirate, and I'm a marine soldier. We're like oil and water. The Benevolent King of the Waves slammed his desk so hard it cracked, confessing internally. But he's the one pirate I refused to capture. At that moment, the den mushi on his desk rang, and he answered immediately. What's the status of the new anti-pirate weapon code? Asked the voice. I just sent it with a courier, the captain replied. If this experiment succeeds, we'll wipe out the pirates in Sabaody. I'm counting on you. After the call ended, the captain began to cry with a sorrowful look. Chopper-kun, where are you now? Chopper happened to be in a bookstore at that very moment, holding a special edition magazine about Frankie. Amazing! Frankie's body structure! The bookstore's part-timer stared at Chopper, baffled. What is that creature? Is that robot guy famous? Is this okay? This is terrifying! The more Chopper read, the more shocked he became by the details about Frankie. Afterward, he placed the magazine back on the shelf and left. And he didn't even buy it? Silence filled the meeting room where top marine authorities had gathered. Minutes passed in awkward stillness. Everyone was too embarrassed on behalf of the man called the benevolent king of the waves. It was just too much. Is this seriously a marine captain? What kind of freaky personality is this? I mean, sure, Chopper is cute, but what the hell is this visual pollution I'm witnessing? Please stop, I've got goosebumps. Who would have thought Chopper had a fan? Fan from Marines, no less. Chopper's actually super strong. He never deserved to be treated like the crew's pet. That was a huge misjudgment on the Marine's part in the manga. But a Marine fan? That's too much. He's probably kept this a deep secret. Never expected it to be revealed in the manga someday. I bet he's dying of embarrassment right now. I mean, he must still be part of the Marines today. Does anyone know his name? No? Well, let's investigate. His face is already clear in the manga. He shouldn't look much different, just 18 years younger. Meanwhile, in Drum Kingdom, sake spilled from Hirulik's mouth, unnoticed. The current scene had shocked him beyond words. The same thing was happening to the beautiful witch Kureha. What on earth am I watching? Chopper actually has fans. But this? This is way too much. Hirulik shook his head and stopped pouring sake. A seasoned Marine officer. Really, you can never tell a person's true nature so easily, said Kureha with a mysterious smile. Does he like him because he's so cute? Doesn't he know how powerful Chopper actually is? Asked Hirulik. I doubt he does. All that cuteness vanishes when Chopper turns into that giant monster, said Dalton, standing beside them. Chapter 899, A Letter for Someone Dear to Me. End of the arc. The small stones on the ground must remain in the shadows. What a wise saying from a random character. Fufufu. Daffy laughed slowly, repeating the words spoken by a blonde Marine soldier to the little girl who admired Nami. Is that Usopp? Ha ha! There's no way this little girl could imagine that the long-nosed guy in front of her is a member of the Straw Hat Pirates and a companion of Nami. Rosinante laughed as he watched the scene, though he was visibly annoyed by the arrogant attitude of the blonde Marine. Not far from Duffy's group, Mihawk sat with one leg crossed over the other. Beside him rested his legendary black blade Yoru. He quietly sipped his sugarless coffee as he observed these extra manga scenes unfold. A drunken Marine soldier was boasting at a bar, telling his friends how he had once witnessed Dracula Mihawk slice through a glacier during the Summit War. That memory had become the pride of his life, solidifying Mihawk in his eyes as the greatest swordsman. Are they still debating who the strongest swordsman is? Fools! Is that even still a topic for debate? There isn't a single competitor in the manga world who can rival my counterpart's title as the greatest swordsman. Isho glanced toward Mihawk and smiled. Your counterpart is fortunate that Rob doesn't exist in the manga world. Upon hearing that, Mihawk paused mid-sip and gazed intently at Isho. I can't argue with that. You're right. Mihawk admitted it at last. He had fought his counterpart in the game world and learned firsthand just how high the bar could be set and surpassed. He had even fought Rob. And Rob's swordsmanship, just one of his many abilities, was leagues beyond what any other swordsman in the world could ever hope to achieve. Rob, as a swordsman, was utterly terrifying. Chapter's events. Hey rookie! That's Whitebeard. A drunk man pointed at Whitebeard's bounty poster. He fights using a Naginata spear, so he's not a swordsman. It's Mihawk. I've seen his strength with my own eyes. A Mihawk fan cried out. Yeah? Hawkeye. Another man scoffed. The Mihawk fan grew angrier. I saw it with my own eyes. Just then, a voice interrupted them. It was Marine older brother. You all know nothing. The strongest one is Akainu. He's not even a swordsman, you idiot! All the men shouted back at him. Blackbeard is the strongest. Another fool chimed in. They're all hopeless at judging strength. The only promising one among them is Zoro, don't you think? A Zoro fan said. Sanji, who happened to be standing behind him, overheard. "How dare you talk about that mosshead and not about Blackleg? Ha 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 ha! Bwahahoho! Jaya ha ha ha!" The room exploded in laughter at Sanji's comment. "Ha! No way! His bounty is lower than Zoro's! He can't possibly be the strongest!" Suddenly, the laughter stopped as all the men were brutally beaten. Even the Zoro fan, who usually got away with it, took the worst of the damage. "What's his problem this time?" Pfft. Sora chuckled as she watched the hilarious scene. "Seems like Sanji doesn't take being underestimated well," Toki said with a smile. "That's Sanji for you, especially when it's about Zoro. Those guys got exactly what they deserved," added Sora. "I think Sanji and Zoro are pretty close in strength these days. The bounty always underestimates Sanji," said Odoheim, standing nearby. "The wings of the Pirate King should be close in power. Even so, Zoro tends to take the lead. He was probably Luffy's first mate, after all." "That's relatively true." "Not really. Zoro is slightly stronger than Sanji, yes, but Sanji's potential in the crew is unmatched." At that moment, Rob, who wasn't far off, joined the conversation with his wives. He was currently preparing to empty the art store and get ready for upcoming events. Back in Marineford, Sakazuki closed his eyes after hearing Marine older brother proclaim his name as the strongest in the world, thus including him in the debate about the greatest swordsman. Fool. But it doesn't matter whether they're swordsmen or not, they'll all burn to ash beneath my magma. Looks like even Akainu has fans now. Of course he does. A large percentage of the Marines now openly support Sakazuki. Even among civilians, many admire and favor him. Naturally, people still love unwavering resolve, destructive power, and firm justice. The praise didn't move Sakazuki. His expression remained solid and unshaken, but inside, he was smiling. He loved having a loyal following. Extreme justice reigns supreme. That was his motto, and his fans. Do you hate your brother or not? Just tell us the truth. The scenes of Marine younger brother played out in Sengoku's eyes, who was now more focused than ever on the unfolding events. His older brother seems more talented, and far more courageous, said Zephyr. These war scenes, from the perspective of ordinary soldiers, they're truly heartbreaking. Tsuru covered her mouth in sorrow. She could clearly see the blood-soaked Marines, undeniably dead. These were the eyes of Marine younger brother. This is terrible. But all those sacrifices led to success. Whitebeard was defeated in the end. Sengoku clenched his cup so tightly it nearly cracked. Is he not going to save his brother? Is he trying to escape? That laser, don't tell me those are my own attacks. Sai looks like my counterpart accidentally hurt a lot of regular soldiers during the battle. Is that Luffy? Kazan's eyes froze on the breathtaking manga panel. Marine younger brother was running away, leaving his older brother behind on the brink of death. I'm your brother! He froze in his tracks upon hearing Luffy's shout. Brother! Run! Marine older brother cried out from within the ice when he saw his younger sibling stop. But then, the younger brother's eyes regained their light, and he turned back to save his big brother. If GOLD, Roger hadn't started the Great Pirate Era. If Fire Fist Ace hadn't been captured. If we hadn't been summoned to fight in this war. If I hadn't been pinned under that giant's leg. If my gun belt hadn't been sliced. If I hadn't heard that man's voice. All of these moments slowly changed my life. If I survive, could my actions ever impact someone else's life the way his did? Like that man. From within the flames, Luffy emerged. He had successfully saved his brother, right in front of Marine younger brother's eyes, who was thinking all this to himself. My brother's still alive, thanks to the straw hat. But he lost his brother Ace, right in front of his eyes. He disappeared after that. I wonder where he is now. Alert! The pirate Straw Hat Luffy has been spotted nearby. The younger brother's thoughts were interrupted by this shocking report. He's meeting his crew at Grove 46. Nami will be there. The little girl's eyes lit up when she heard that as well. Sigh. Seems like someone here's truly inspired by Luffy's actions. This younger brother has a conscience. So Luffy unknowingly ended up saving the older brother of this Marine? That's amazing. What irony, the Marine's brother was saved, but Luffy's wasn't. Isn't that divine karma? If Luffy's words could unknowingly save someone else's brother, what would be enough to save Luffy's brother? Sengoku looked deeply at Sakazuki after saying that. It would have been enough if my counterpart weren't on the battlefield, but too bad for him. I was. His karma wasn't enough. That was Sakazuki's cold reply. I still wonder, what kind of weapon are they planning to use? In any case, it seems the secret code to activate it has been lost. Seriously? That little fan letter is what saved the Straw Hat crew from that weapon. Wait a minute. A weapon that releases a liquid into the sea and melts ships and their hulls? That's amazing. Why does it even need a secret code to activate? Just launch it already, idiot. What's the point of yelling now? They've already departed safely for Fishman Island. Oikit Kingdom. Back at the art store in this tiny kingdom in the East Blue, Lilia's eyes sparkled with joy as she watched the little Nami fans search eagerly for the crew's meeting spot. Pfft, ha! What a cute little girl. I really want to know her name. Why hasn't it been mentioned yet? Lilia said this as she looked toward the black-haired man beside her, who was playing with the baby girl in his lap. These two were Nami's biological parents, Lilia and Jack. Ha! This little girl is as smart as our Nami. I bet she'll succeed. Did you see that? She saw through the fakes instantly. Ha ha. Pfft. She's really special. She even witnessed the epic moment when Luffy destroyed the pacifista. What a lucky girl. Ha ha. Told you she was sharp. Look, she's even trying to make a deal with the Marine's younger brother. She sold out the crew just to see Nami. Ha! Jack laughed at the scene, and Lilia smiled too. Nami is dear to me because she makes me feel like I could go on adventures too. That's why I want to support her. She smiled, reading the little girl's confession, which was addressed to someone who had shared a similar experience, someone whose life had also been changed by Luffy. What a noble Marine, this younger brother. He'll help her see Nami from afar, and that's enough, really. Jack smiled as well. It's not enough. I want to see Nami read the girl's fan letter. Lilia slammed the table in frustration. Tell me, will this little girl's letter ever reach Nami? In O'Hara, Belmere pointed to the manga page, asking Rob. Who knows? Maybe. Rob shrugged, smiling. Didn't her letter already get lost? It was mixed up with that secret code the older brother had. Belmere's concern was clearly reflected in her eyes. It's okay. Her letter was delivered. A fan letter, forever preserved in the manga. Isn't that enough? Rob replied with a smile. Seeing all these people so excited for my singing thrills me greatly. Yo-ho-ho-ho-ho. Even a beautiful girl like the bookstore part-timer is a big fan of mine, yo-ho-ho-ho-ho. I wonder if I can ask her if I could see her under a boom. Ugh! Brooks shouted as he got hit with a strong slap. What? Stop insulting your fans, you idiot! You want to see underwear everywhere! Yelled Belmere, who was frustrated by Brooks' response. She was the one who slapped him. Ah, Belmere-san. I'm just so happy, that's why I want to see her under a ugh. Just stop saying that every time. Belmere smiled as she saw the young girl approach, finally able to catch sight of the Sunigo. But her mood soured the moment she saw her being grabbed by that wicked blonde Marine. That bastard again! What's the deal with that strange Marine ship? Is it that secret weapon ship? Yet another pebble on the road, that vile scumbag. What's his story? Belmere was getting angrier and angrier because of him, and she wasn't the only one. Many others were furious at him too. But upon seeing the next change in events, Belmere quietly smiled. It seems fate wants this. From the last scene, it looked like Belmere and the rest of the readers heard Luffy's voice shouting one word. Let's sail! In the end, the little girl managed to catch a glimpse of Nami laughing joyfully. Unfortunately, she couldn't deliver her fan letter to Nami. Chapter 900 Vigorland Shamrock enters the game world. Inside the art store in Marihoa, Shamrock looked at the white capsule he was about to enter in the dark room. Even as a majestic holy knight, he had to obediently wait for his turn behind the hundreds of damned celestial dragons eager to play. TCH, even though most of them don't last a minute in there, they never learn at all, Shamrock mocked the celestial dragons inwardly, who often lost easily in the game. Then, he pressed the button to open the capsule and stepped inside. Trust me, Shanks, one day I'll find you in the game world. That was his last thought before his consciousness disconnected from reality and entered the game world. Shamrock opened his eyes. He was currently on a ship. This place. In story mode, he was still in the same location he had left previously when his game time had ended. Aboard his own ship, he was currently playing as a pirate. He wanted to replicate Shanks' journey as a pirate. Something he had always dreamed of, and the game world had allowed him to do just that. Shamrock looked at his hands. He was wearing leather gloves. His long red hair was tied in the same way as in real life. His avatar body in the game resembled an older version of himself, but dressed like a pirate. He looked behind. The ship was docked near a solid red cliff. Not far from there was a building resembling a lighthouse. An old man was calmly seated on a bench, reading a newspaper. Player Shamrock's eyes met with the old man's, who was clearly annoyed that this ship was still here. Hey kid, you'd better raise your sail and leave now, before he shows up. Crocus said that once again, after warning him multiple times, but the red-haired boy didn't seem to care at all. Shamrock knew exactly what Crocus was referring to. Laboon would soon appear and start smashing his massive head against Twin Cape, causing the sea to rage in the area where his ship was resting. Incidentally, that's how he had died and left the game previously, because of Laboon. At that moment, Shamrock jumped off the ship and walked toward Crocus. I'm just a retired old man. Why are you so desperate to recruit me? Crocus looked at Shamrock this time with surprise. He had been trying to recruit him for nearly a week without giving up. For the first time, his expression changed due to the persistence of this strange man. I don't have a doctor on my ship. The doctor of the former pirate king deserves a shot at recruitment, Shamrock said calmly. He was currently trying to clear the quest and earn the reward. After attempting to recruit Crocus multiple times and being rejected, the system converted it into a high-value quest. That meant if he succeeded, he'd receive a huge boost of EXP, valuable skill points, a powerful skill, and, most importantly, his first crew member. You don't have a doctor on your ship? You don't have anyone on your ship to begin with. And how do you know I was on the Pirate King's ship, or that I'm a doctor? Crocus mocked him at first, then revealed his surprise. You'll be my first crew member. Isn't that an honor? I mean, isn't that great for you? Shamrock almost spoke in the high and mighty tone of the celestial dragons, but he bit his tongue just in time. You reek of a stench that reminds me of the celestial dragons. Who are you, really? Crocus grew more cautious. This strange pirate was one of a kind. He had met countless pirates who entered the Grand Line from Reverse Mountain. Madmen and widows were common, but only Shamrock had managed to leave such a strong impression. I'm the Red Star. I'll become a great pirate in this world. Come and witness it yourself. Shamrock drew his sword, declaring his name as a player. It was, without a doubt, his identity in the game world. Red Star. That's a title, not a name. Stop dreaming. Just leave. I'm not joining you. Crocus refused flat out. It was impossible. Who would take care of Laboon if he left? Shamrock squinted hard. He wanted to draw his sword and slice the old bastard's head off, but at his current level, He didn't think he could succeed. His current level was only 26, while the old man, who looked weak, was level 63. An immense gap indeed. Shamrock turned around, accepting the failure of his quest. He couldn't waste any more time here. But at that moment, the giant whale appeared and began rampaging. In less than a minute, his ship turned into scattered wooden debris floating in the sea. Shamrock stood there staring at the raging laboon with a blank expression. The ship he had stolen from pirates in the East Blue, after all that effort, was destroyed here. He had no way to leave anymore. Crocus returned to his newspaper, completely ignoring Shamrock. He had nothing to do with him. You have failed the quest, recruit Crocus. The system notification added salt to Shamrock's wound at that moment. Far away in the art store on Urura Island, stronghold of the Beast Pirates, Kaido was excited to re-enter the game world again. Despite his terribly bad luck there, it was in this chaotic environment that he finally felt free from everything. He could do whatever he wanted, even with his low level. Last time, that bastard Mihawk fought me. But this time, I'll definitely avoid him. Kaido had learned to be cautious of top-tier NPCs in the game world. He didn't want to waste a precious month of progress just because a powerful NPC passed by him by accident. Yes, in the latest game update, 1 full year in the game world, previously equal to 1 hour in real life, was reduced to just 1 month in the game world for every hour in real life. This sudden update from Rob caused the player forums to be filled with disappointed sighs. But Rob's only explanation was that to fix system bugs, the extreme time difference had to be adjusted. After all, the online mode release was approaching, and bugs had to be minimized to make the game safe to play. What Rob did couldn't be undone, but for unlucky players like Kaido, who usually died before the first month ended, this change felt normal. Kaido opened his eyes again inside the game world. He looked at the Krieg Pirates crew he had just subdued. He had restarted the game from this critical stage. He immediately ran and jumped onto his ship, which was docked beside Krieg's massive pirate ship. "Raise the sail! Go! Go!" Hearing their captain's orders, the crew acted without question. Kaido had trained them to follow him no matter what. They were used to his strange decisions, but they always survived thanks to them. They didn't know that every time their captain acted like this, it was because he had already died before that. After all, they were just NPCs. For them, time still flowed normally and no error had occurred. Krieg and his crew stared in confusion at the wild pirate who had just defeated them and suddenly let them go, fleeing with his tail between his legs. Before Mihawk could appear, Kaido and his crew had already escaped far from the doomed ship. Inside the game world, in the northwest of Alabasta, in the city of Rain Base, Shanks was currently inside the casino called Rain Dinners. "Handsome boy, you better back off and leave this place before you get yourself hurt." At that moment, Shanks heard a woman's voice. He turned to see a woman with blue eyes, short ash blonde hair, and slightly tanned skin, wearing a white cowboy hat. It was clearly her who had spoken. What caught Shanks' attention the most was the level above her head, level 25. Her level was very close to his, although he had just reached level 29 before arriving in Rain Base. "What exactly is the lady trying to tell me? Why should I leave? Don't I have the right to gamble in this casino like everyone else?" Shanks smiled and replied with several questions instead. "You're the infamous black-haired pirate, with a bounty of 160 million berries. You're currently on the Shichibukai crocodile's territory. You should leave before the boss gets angry." When Miss All Sunday realized she couldn't deal with this man, she quickly mentioned the name behind the casino, hoping he'd back off. But Shanks only smiled. "Why don't you call him so he can tell me that himself?" Shanks knew that Crocodile didn't want any trouble to interfere with his stupid plan, which is why he sent Miss All Sunday to scare him off. But would Shanks obey just like that? Where's the fun in the game then? "So you want me to kick you out myself, huh? Fine. You asked for it." At that moment, a man in a green coat appeared, staring at him with sharp eyes. The first thing Shanks noticed was Crocodile's red-colored name, and his level, 60. Man, this is gonna be tough. Shanks sighed, stood up, and drew his sword. Blackstar_BH. Chapter 900. I don't know what to say or how to express my feelings at this historic moment. I still can't believe I've written this many chapters. For the past 3 years, I've written and written tirelessly. Sometimes I got bored, sometimes I felt empty, and other times my passion faded. But what never changed was my strong comeback every single time. Why? Because of you. I never wanted to let you down, not even once. I promised you before that I'd reach chapter 1000, and go beyond it. I'll follow the footsteps of the original manga and catch up, to finish the greatest fan novel based on reactions in history. I won't give up. I'll keep writing until the end. After all, this novel has become my daily routine, something that gives meaning to my life. Thank you all for supporting me, no matter how small or intangible that support may be. I still feel it, and I appreciate it deeply. I know every name of those who supported me on Patreon and on Ko-Fi, too, those who still do, and even those who once did. A simple thank you is not enough to express how much I love you. But I believe my continued writing of these chapters says it all, doesn't it? Let's keep this journey going. Don't stumble along the way. Maybe, just maybe, my next novel will be just as good, or even better. That wraps up this part of What If Becoming a Mangaka in One Piece World. Thanks so much for listening. As always, new parts drop every 4 days, so be sure to stay tuned. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released 1 day ahead of YouTube. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and please consider supporting the original author as well. See you in the next one.